In this video, I want to talk about 7 things I believe we should have in our vehicles if we're going to be traveling a great distance. Stick around. And honestly, I think it's a good idea just to have these things in our car anyway. Let's jump right in. These are in no particular order. Number 1, you need to be able to take care of your tires. When it comes to tires, several things come to mind. Do you have a spare tire? Do you know how to change the spare tire? Can you access the things that you need to change the spare tire? You'd be surprised. I had a flat tire in Mount Airy, North Carolina one evening, and it was in my wife's minivan, and we'd never had to change the tire on it before. But if you've ever tried to access the spare tire on a Dodge Grand Caravan, it's no fun. Which leads to my next point. I say I had a flat, but it was really a slow leak. I had just enough air in the tire to get across town to Walmart to get my tire fixed. They plugged my tire. So in that case, I didn't have to climb under the car and get the spare tire out from where it was at. I wasn't going to fool with that. What would have helped me though is having something like an air moto. I went out and bought one of these a week ago. I'll show it to you. You can use one of these to pump up all kinds of things, but it's a simple little contraption you can keep in the car just in those times where you might need to put a little bit more air in the tire to get where you're going. You may be in a bad spot where it's not the best place to change a tire, and something like this may give you the opportunity to get a little further down the road so that you can or either get it serviced. It doesn't have to be an air moto like I bought. I just bought what I believe to be the best thing out of all that I looked at. But it could be anything, any way that you can pump your tire back up. It's good to keep a tire plugging kit in the car if you know how to do that. There's so many different ways that we can tend to our tires out on the road, but there's nothing worse than being sidelined with no idea on what to do. If you have a newer car, I would check to see if you even have a spare tire. Years back, I bought a Hyundai Elantra. I was like 2016 when I bought it, but it was a 2013. I thought, it's got a spare tire. I never checked. I went out one day and I got a flat on the side of the road only to find out that the only thing that came with the car was one of these little air compressors like I just showed you and some kind of gel to try to plug the hole with. It didn't even have a spare tire, so make sure you have one. I just think it's wise to learn as much as we can about how to take care of tires because it's only a matter of time before you're going to need to. Number 2, you need to be able to start a dead battery. And I would say just throw some jumper cables in the back of the car, but it's 2024 and we've got much better ways to be able to do that now without having to depend on somebody else's vehicle. I had been shopping around for one, but a company called Avapow reached out to me and said, would you showcase our starter? I said, well, I don't have any dead batteries right now. I don't have a way that I can showcase this. But I did tell them I'm doing a video right now on travel preparedness and I'll put this on display. So it comes nice and tightly packaged, just like this right here, easy to stick in the car. This is suitable for cars, trucks, RVs, pretty much anything. This one comes with USB ports, DC outputs. It's also got like a massive LED light on it as well. So this is something great to have with you. It's just a power station. Here's the accessories, the charger cord that comes with it. You keep this charged so you can do the charging when you need to. I don't get commission on this. I just told them I'd put it on display for this video. Nothing sucks worse than a dead battery and trying to figure out who's going to give you a jump. This right here solves that issue. Another benefit is not having to interact with other people because you never know who you are interacting with. Number 3, you need protection. If you're a U.S. citizen and you can have a firearm, by all means, have one and know how to use it. If you're scared of firearms, pick something else. If you live somewhere where you can't have them, pick something else. But have something there with you to be an equalization between you and someone else. They have these cans of pepper spray now that are so big that you could do like crowd control with these things. You could keep one in the car. You can get these monsters from Police Magnum. And of course, I believe you should have a knife. A knife is the ability to cut off a seatbelt in an emergency situation. A knife can be used for anything and everything. It's also a great self-defense tool if need be. What you don't want to do is travel empty-handed. Have something to protect yourself with. A firearm, a club, a knife, pepper spray, a stun gun. You name it, just get something. Daniel, what are your favorites? I'm glad you asked. Firearm, knife, pepper spray. Number 4, weather-appropriate backup gear. There are parts of this country and parts of the world where you break down, you won't have a phone signal. There are places where you won't have a signal. Can't text, can't call. You may have to make a trip on foot. Is it hot outside? Is it cold outside? Do you have a stocking cap in the car? Maybe an extra jacket, some blankets? Do you have a hat for your head if it's hot and sunny outside, if the sun is barreling down? Do you have sunscreen? Do you have the things that you need if you have to travel somewhere on foot? I see these dudes, man, they ride around all the time in the winter in a hoodie and a pair of shorts and some Crocs. Well, you know, that's cool as long as you can stay in your car for the entire trip, but I'm not so sure you'd want to dress that way if you had to walk 1.5 miles in 30-degree weather to get to the nearest civilization. People will go out of the house when they're just traveling around town in the middle of winter. They'll run out in a t-shirt real quick. The car is already warmed up. They'll go from place to place. That's cool. But if you're traveling, do you have the clothes that you need to be able to make a trip on foot? It's the same with the summer. Man, I mean, you get outside, you don't have no sunscreen, you walk somewhere for possibly several miles, you get sunburned pretty bad, especially if you got a bald head like me. You know, I definitely got to have a hat and some sunscreen. We have to think about those things. I'm not saying we have to pack a million things, but pack a few extra things that might be useful if you have to take it on foot for a while. What if you have to make a trip on foot and it's raining? Do you have a poncho? Man, they sell disposable ponchos for like $2.50. You can get a pack of them on Amazon. I'd keep one of those in the glove box anyway, all the time. All of this leads to my next point. Do you have some extra snacks and refreshments? Do you have some water? What if it's hot? You have to make a trip. You need to stay hydrated. Do you have some water in the car? Be good to keep a pack of bottled waters in there. Do you have protein bars? Do you have something that will give you some energy if you need to exert some energy? This one may be super obvious, but do you have not only a phone, but a charged phone? You need to keep your phone charged when you're traveling. Don't let it go dead. Keep it charged at all times if you can. You may not be in a situation where there's no signal. Sometimes it's just a matter of making a phone call. You may not always have that luxury, but in many cases you will. So keep that thing charged. So many people find themselves in a bad situation and they don't have any charge left. But again, I will default back to this Avapow. It's got a USB and a Type-C input. So if it does happen to be dead, pull this out and give your phone some juice. 7, you need a flashlight. You always need a good, dependable flashlight. In fact, I would say have 2 flashlights, just one for backup, because there's nothing more frustrating than being in these situations in the dark, unable to see. And sometimes the lights on these cell phones are not worth a crap. Flashlights can also be a self-defense tool as well. If you've got somebody approaching you that you don't feel right about, you blast them with enough lumens, it's going to discombobulate that individual. I like something like this Brianite PT16A. I like it because it can put out a lot of light and it can put out a little bit, whatever you need. And you can charge something like this with a C adapter. Again, another way the Avapow charger station can come in handy. You can keep these kinds of flashlights charged without having to carry a bunch of batteries. You could get, something like this, or just something smaller, something more compact. But I'd go ahead and have these things fully charged before you take the trip, obviously. You can also strike with this flashlight. It's got these ridges on the end that are very durable and strong. This is just the total package right here. I also believe it's good to communicate with people and have those who know where we're going. And if we don't get there by a certain time, or if we're in danger, they'll be able to backtrack where we are. I think it's just good to have certain people in the pocket who know that we're traveling and know where we're traveling. I'll also bring up Life 360 at this particular time. I use that, for example, on a smaller scale. If my daughter is leaving a house that's an hour away and she doesn't get home, well, I know where she's at. I know where she's traveling. I can go looking for her. You could temporarily add certain individuals to your Life 360. They can see where you're at, where you're going, and that's not always a bad idea. All of this may seem like common sense, but trust me, there are plenty of people who don't think about these things. They just pack like they would normally pack and they head off down the road. But if you're doing long, extended travel, it's very possible that you could travel through some very remote areas and some very unexpected, unfortunate things can go down. There's so much we could say about this, but I believe these 7 things that we have discussed will give you an extra measure of safety and preparedness. Maybe I left something off. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. If there's something in this video that I didn't mention, you'll have your chance in the comments to add it to the list. Thanks for watching. Take care.